All right, yeah. That's that not YouTube approved and copyrighted shit I be doing. Gotta get myself pumped up before we go live. What's the motherfucking deal, man? Welcome to the den. I'm your host, Sir Ed Honcho. It is my honor, it is my privilege, but more than anything, it is my pleasure to get to chop it up with you wonderful people each whenever we go live. So, remind me, somebody remind me. I'll be forgetting. If I sit here too long, I have water boiling on the stove for my tea. Someone remind me. Please remind me to check the boiling water for my tea if I don't do it myself. Most of the time when we talk about stuff, I have like experience with the conversation. You know what I'm saying? Like I have experience with the topic. But tonight, I can't say that I do. You feel me? But I kind of, to an extent. But there's plenty enough to talk about. There's plenty enough that, there's a few issues I want to touch on. So I won't say that I have direct experience with it. So it's a little different this evening. Let me go check that. It's probably just smarter to leave that door open. All right, cool. So anyway, so tonight's topic, like I said, I can't necessarily say I have firsthand experience with that. But I do know the effects. I've seen maybe third party or however you want to look at it. But I know that this is an issue that affects people, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I could say there's a small amount of experience. I will say that. I will say I'm wrong. So let me take that back, because I think that the impact that it could be small things that you have on your children can impact them negatively or positively, but it's a fine balance. That's why I call it blame and balance, because there's a fine line of balance to say that you raise some stable kids versus you got kids who are in therapy blaming you for some shit 30 years later, right? So anyway, but we're going to get into that. But before we get into that, let's see who we have joining us this evening. And the water's not boiling yet. I just figured it'd be better to leave the door open just to keep an ear open for it, right? So let's see what we got going. Doodle 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 doo. Oh, is this not connected? Give me just a second. Is the bot not botting? Or is it? Doesn't appear to be. Let's see. Let me reconnect it. All right, cool. All right, so let's see what we have joining us this evening, and then let's get into some good conversation. There's it. It's botting. All right. Get full. Anyway. All right. Let's see what the lovely Miss D the Gamma joining us this evening. The lovely Miss Bell as well. So, Lise, what's the motherfucking deal? Heidi's here. Howdy, Heidi. How are you? How's it going? Hope all is all fancy and fine with you. Let me see something there. Okay, there we go. All right, my bad. I'll make sure to see we're going through some other weird shit. All right. Anyway, Heidi's here. Let's see. Lovely Miss Patricia K, the lovely Miss Holly S. How are you ladies doing this evening? Let's see, who else do we have? Broderick's here. Broderick, Broderick has been like the biggest disappointment in the den the last 2 days. Broderick got handled in a debate, and he ain't been the same since. And, we gotta get Broderick back right. No, it wasn't. It wasn't. I gotta. My fault. I need to hit man up. I was supposed to hit him last night, and I tapped out after the thing. But I need to get with him to have that conversation. We do need it, man. Look, let me tell you. M5. How you doing this evening? Illusion, what's the motherfucking deal? Shout out to Illusion. Always a great conversation, man. I really enjoy having a conversation with Mr. Illusion. Very deep thinker. Heidi, you're not fancy. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, so there's that. Let me see. If I missed you, I promise I ain't dish you. But let's get into it, right? Because I think that there's going to be mixed opinions on this, depending on, what part of the country you were from, how you were raised, just your overall perception of things, maybe your experiences. I think that there are going to be a lot of different views on this because I'm a person of the mindset, spare the rod, spoil the child, right? I got my fair share of chastisings, right? As a youth. But there can be an extreme. There are some people who they don't understand the difference between discipline and beating, right? And this is not about abusive parents only, because I think that you can be mentally toxic. I think you can be psychological. You can do things in a certain way that impacts kid. I mean, there are multiple ways to be. I get, toxic. I catch myself using these buzzwords, and I shouldn't, but I guess whatever. Um, but manipulation through physical intimidation, through I mean, there's lots of you hear some of the craziest stories. You hear things that just blow your mind, right? And we talked about bad kids yesterday in the situation with single only child. So not necessarily bad kids, but like being the only child, slightly about the middle child, a little bit. But then we'll talk about parents. And we're gonna have another conversation tomorrow, kind of tied into this. Maybe we'll have some fun. But there are multiple ways that you can be toxic, right? You have people who try to live vicariously through their children. Your child may not, and it may not even be a forceful thing in the sense of you being aggressive. It can be emotional manipulation. And when I say that, children like to, for the most part, live up to their parents' expectations. That's why I always say if you set a standard for your kids, they will achieve it. If you set expectations, they will. But at the same time, you have to think about your kids too. To think that again, the balance. And again, I'm not a parent, so what the fuck do you know, Hunter? You fucking everything you tell me how to be a parent. I'm just observing, right? This is life, and this is what we talk about in the den, right? But emotional manipulation. So say in a sense, like when I say you live vicariously through your kids, say you have you have one of these dads, right? He wasn't never really good at football, but if coach would have put him in the fourth quarter, they'd have went to state, Uncle Rico ass type of dad, right? But he pushes his kid. Kid doesn't want to play ball, but he knows that it makes his dad happy to see him out there, something like that. And the emotional manipulation is, maybe withdrawing that support if he doesn't, or this feigning of sadness or being whatever it may be. But the kid's like, well, I don't want to, make my parents upset, or I don't want to. People do things for other people a lot, and I think at some point all of us probably have. Some of us maybe way more so than others, right? Depending on the situation that you were in. And it might not have been the best example. I'm sure some of you probably have better examples. Some of you have actually probably lived through it. Again, this is the den. This is what makes the den so beautiful, is that we have all kind of had different backgrounds, different stories, different things that we can share, right? And so when I said I have not ever experienced, I think maybe a little bit, right, when I was younger. And I'll explain, right? And that's why I say I believe that the spare the rod, spoil the child, but at the same time, discipline and setting standards. And again, this could just be a me thing. It could just be me being the person I am. It could just be my makeup, right? But when I was young, it was real weird because I tell people I taught myself how to read, right? I had this book. It's like Morris the Bear and Morris the Remove, something like that, right? It was like my favorite book then. And when we stayed in Beaumont, my parents stayed. They made the attic into like a room, right? I stayed downstairs. And so one day I went up in there. I was like, "Hey, I want to read this book." I didn't say it that effectively, but hey, I want to read this book. And they, "Oh, you want us to read it to you?" I was like, "No, I want to read it to you guys, right?" And so I read it. They were surprised. Cool, whatever. But my pops, he was the kind of guy. He was definitely pushed a little bit, right? Like schoolwork, things like that. And I look back and I'm like, hey, you motherfucker, I started this shit myself. How you come in and start trying to, enforce some rules? But it is what it is, right? But like shit, like I couldn't make mistakes on, I couldn't make mistakes on things. Erase marks, something went right, like ball it up, start over, type of shit, right? We're talking like kindergarten shit. I probably hate manila paper to this day because or whatever that paper is, that's manila folders, I think. That fucking paper with the lines and that little brown, shitty recycled ass paper. I hate that shit. Shit makes me vomit when I see it. But yeah, shit like that. I mean, and it would just be, it's not like there were certain little things I think was a little bit much, but neither here nor there. Survive, so you cool. But yeah, like little bitty shit, right? And then so it's like you look at it and you're like, man, that's you fucking dickhead, you piece of shit. But that had that kind of establishing that, kind of instilling that in me has helped in certain avenues, but it's also hurt in certain ways, like, because then there's certain things, well, if you don't do it right the first time or, whatever, you make mistakes, but you second guess yourself because this is what is kind of ingrained in you, or you start over, you don't, things should be good, or you feel like something's not always good enough. So it can be a negative thing, right? So that's what I say, it's a fine line between, motivation and then, setting some kind of foundation and, kind of being a destructive habit. So, it is what it is. But I look back on it now and I'm not mad about it because it wasn't really the worst thing ever, right? It's not like, oh, but you look at it now, people are like, oh, it's terrible. Now, there were other things that questionable. We're not going to get into all that. But it's like, you say that to people now, and it's like that people say that's terrible. That's some kind of punishment. That's some kind of, whatever, right? Exactly. LeVar Ball. Heidi, you in this deal every day. This is not the sauce, all right? Not busted, really, really high, trying to stay focused. You see what happens? You're trying to deter me to get me out. I'm talking serious here, and Heidi has derailed me. She has succeeded, asshole. But no, so again, so I think there are things like that, and again, that's mild to things that I've heard, or people I've known, and the things that they've been through. Again, I feel like I've had even with the situations that I've been through, I feel like it was relatively stable, right? Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Jason. I appreciate it, right? I didn't. Jason's the only person who really cares. Give me just 1 second, because I sure did forget about it. Pardon me. All right. Electric Boogaloo. Let's go. So again, those are mild things, and again, I don't think that was necessarily bad at the time. I didn't like it at the time. I was very opposed to it. You don't ever want to do shit like that. But I believe that, or I've come to the conclusion now as I've gotten older, that one, it did more good than harm, maybe, because I have a habit of sticking certain stuff out way longer than I probably should, and I think that's part. But I mean, I guess I don't know if that's it. Again, balance. So again, there's a fine line, but then you say, well, there are those parents, like I said, who manipulate. There are those parents who force their kids to do things that they know that either they're not capable of, they don't want to do, or is that necessary? Because like I say, I believe in pushing motherfuckers to the limit, because when you're young, when you got all this fucking energy, that's when you process and you're taking all this stuff, everything's new, good. Like, fill that motherfucker up. When I saw a fucking 4-year-old doing pre-algebra the other day, all right? Anybody can do it. I don't think that's like a special magical gift. It's unique because you don't see that shit. But it took some time and effort, and we can get into that the details of that. But anybody can do that. But we don't push that kind of effort anymore. Anyway, but we don't. And so then I think that there's a lot of this void, a lot of this space that we have that, or the kids have, and they're getting filled with like bullshit, especially now, phones and all that other crap. They're getting not that those times where they're not exerting that energy in a functional, positive way. They're absorbing useless knowledge, useless information, and it's at the point where you're doing the best processing of I think of life as a whole. I don't know, right? I'm a little bit out of there. Just hear me out. Now, so I'm gonna open up the line. I'm not gonna talk too much, right? Because again, like I say, I feel like I'm not necessarily an expert on the subject, but the den is always about conversation. The den is always about you guys, right? The community, and being able to talk, being able to share experiences with others who may not understand, who may not have had those experiences. So my question is going to be, what makes a toxic parent, in your opinion? And if you're not going to call in, right, this is participation grade. I want you to drop that in the chat. Tell me, because I want to know your opinion. What makes someone a toxic parent, right? You know what I'm saying? I fucking hate Heidi. What makes a toxic parent, right? Is it abusive? Is it mental? Is it manipulation? Is it all the above? What experience have you had, right? First name. What do you think about your parents? Did you feel that way about your parents? Now give me a second. Let me open up the line. Right. I actually have my handy dandy headphones here already ready, so I don't have to get up and go find them. Heidi's having a sale on her OF. Just hit her up on Instagram. She'll give you the discount code. 25-cent buttholes for everybody. Give me just 1 second. Let me get the number up. So again, like I said, can parents be toxic later in life? How long did it take you to realize, if you had parents who were of this, how long did it take you to realize it? Because I think what you have with a lot of people is that, you're like, Hunter, you said you're going to open up the damn line. We'll call it. When I'm going on my rant, deal with it. How many people didn't realize that your parents, until you grew up and then you were around other people? You actually got a chance to see how other people were raised or behaved or things like that. Or maybe you didn't realize your parents might have been real hands off. But I think discipline is necessary. I think structure is always necessary for everybody, right? And a lot of people didn't get that. And I think that's why a lot of people are aimless, right? I would say it. I probably would have craved more structure. Like if I would have went back and did things differently, I definitely know that there probably would have been some choices I would have made another way. What the hell is going on? Give me 1 second, because Okay. It's not all the way set up. Doodle-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. All right. I think we're good to go. Let's find out. What's the motherfucking deal? Who do we have calling into the den this evening?
Hey, it's Bill.
Is it Belle?
Yes, it is.
All right. Well, ring my bell, Miss Bell. How are you doing this evening?
Good. You wondering about toxic parents?
Yeah, let's talk. Let's talk toxic parents. What's on your mind?
It
Talk to me.
can be anywhere from drug addiction of the parents to not being present to pushing the kids so hard that they don't feel like that they can come up for air. I mean, toxicity with parents is there's a lot of different scenarios.
Did you deal with toxicity from your parents?
Yeah, they weren't always present. My dad died when I was almost 15, so yeah, my mom being a single parent raising us, she wasn't always present. Did it make her completely toxic? No. Did she make mistakes? Absolutely. Sometimes you'll say something to your kid and not realize that it left a scar that they'll have to deal with later down the road. All parents do it. It's not always a conscious thing until you look back and say, oh, crap, that happened. Parenting is not going to be perfection. It's going to be a lot of good foundation if there is one. And sometimes that's part of the toxicity of the parent. They didn't even have a good foundation when they were growing up. And so it becomes generational as well.
So, do you think that people that you said generational? So, you feel like people who had parents who were quote unquote toxic, they become toxic parents themselves?
I think it's possible and probable if they don't have any coping skills, of how to be a good parent. I mean, there are kids who were raised their brothers and sisters and ended up become good parents because they'd already had that practice with siblings, but the parents might not have been present.
So, when you say not present, is it due to having other obligations and just not being able to schedule enough time for that and the kids? Or do you say, maybe the availability was there but decided not to maybe engage? Like when you say not present, what exactly are you saying? I'm kind of trying to
Well,
understand.
it can be a lot of things. I mean, one of the things that I can honestly say is that when I played sports in high school, my mom was working full time, so I never saw her at a game or a meet or a match or whatever I was doing. And it was known that, she was making bank. She had to put a roof over her head. So there was absenteeism not by neglect, but because of the fact that she was trying to put food on the table.
Do you feel like it still has the same outcome regardless of the reason?
Um, it may have varied in difference, but because that's the experience I had, it doesn't change anything good or bad. I knew she was doing what she needed to do for the right reasons. It's not like she was going out and doing something negative impacting that would have hurt me either way. Do you know what I'm saying?
But
Clean-cut parents who toe the line doesn't mean they can't be toxic. And you've got, deadbeat parents and drug addicts. That doesn't mean that they're not going to put a good effort in. The toxicity comes when the child is scarred from the behavior of the parents, or the behavior of the situation, or the misunderstanding.
So, do you feel at any point, because you are a mother and a grandma, do you feel like at any point that you've exuded any toxic habits, traits that you may have passed on to your kids, or maybe an action that you think may have impacted your kids? And if you don't want to share, I understand, because that could be a personal thing. But do you feel that way?
The biggest thing that my kids keep repeating back to me is that even though I was physically here, I wasn't always mentally present. due to the fact that I had like 800 things that were going on. I wasn't mom and, well, technically, some people call it being mom and dad, but I was the one that wore all the hats. And so I was scheduling for field trips. I was, grocery shopping. I was making a grocery list. I was, figuring if the kids had done homework and chores. So mentally, I wasn't always able to be on point in the present with them, but it doesn't mean that they didn't get to their games or they weren't, there was a uniform if they needed it or, my husband was taken care of, but there was just so much going on that I wasn't always present. And so that it can be that's had toxic moments in itself.
So, knowing that, and and it's cool that they verbalize that to you and you actually speak about it. Do you feel like you've taken steps to maybe correct it, or I mean, there's certain things you just can't necessarily make up for, but maybe to fix that?
Absolutely. One of the big things is that all the electronics, if we're having a family meeting or if my daughter and I are talking or my son and I are talking, all the electronics are off and we're face to face and we're actually communicating with one another rather than them being on their phones and me being on the computer or so, you know what I mean? It's not fly by, it's direct communication. And so things get a lot less missed, things get a lot more established. I hope that my son and daughter-in-law are doing the same thing with their kids and that they do better than I did. And that's, I guess, the hope of every parent is that their kids do better than they do. But there's a fight when you've had a toxic parent to not take it to the next generation and do what you know and to try to do better. It's hard.
I understand. I mean, sometimes it's hard, and like you said, it's hard as there's no book. You can go buy some whatever the new bestseller of the year is, but there's no book on how to raise kids, and you don't know what you don't know, and you only know what you do know. So I understand how these things kind of get passed along. But someone made a comment, and it kind of caught my ear too, and I'm very curious about this.
Okay.
Tell me more about these family meetings. What do these consist of? What happens in these family meetings? How are these things established? Who gets the floor? Is there a talking stick? Like, tell me about this.
Yep, actually there was a talking stick. With it just being my daughter home now that my son's moved out and grown with his family. But yeah, there is a talking stick. Sometimes it's who's doing which chores for the week. Sometimes it's menu scheduling. Sometimes it's, hey, who's got practice? Who has to go here? Who's got what for homework? It's touching base. Sometimes it's not always. Sometimes it's a family dinner that we're all just sitting around and talking. But it's being in the moment and present with each other. It's making sure we get each other's back. If I'm going to see their dad, it's like, okay, where are you going to be? Just kind of touching base and knowing what's going on.
That's cool.
I mean, I think that's pretty normal, but again, today everything's off the table for what's normal.
Normal, yeah. I mean, I don't think people. I don't know. We'll do a quick poll, right? This is what we're gonna do. We're gonna make it very broad, because I'm a firm believer in, like, if you're gonna have family dinners, right? Because that's where you keep up with what's going on with people. That's where you stay informed with one another. That's where you notice things, right? And I don't think people do that anymore. Everybody eats in their own room. Everybody, does their own thing, and somebody's watching some kind of crazy something over here. You don't even eat TV. I mean, even eat in front of the TV together anymore. Like, it's all over the place. So it's like families aren't of the same accord anymore, right?
Caliber, but yeah.
And so I say all this to say, do you in the chat have either family meetings or eat dinner regularly together with your family? And that's like on a nightly basis. 0 for no, 1 for yes. I just want to know about these family meetings and who's having these secret family meetings without my knowledge, and why I haven't been invited to a family meeting. 'Cause I would like to possess the talking. Matter of fact, I'm going to get a talking stick for the den. I'm going to put it up I'm gonna get a virtual talking stick, and so I can say
For
what's
the
going on.
Discord, you mean?
No, just for the den, for right here. I'm gonna be the only one that holds. I'm gonna do all the talking. Um, okay, all right. So that's very interesting. That's very very interesting. Okay. Was there any?
I have to come back on that too. Is that when I was growing up as a kid, it was mandated that you be at Sunday dinner, except if you had to work or you had something going on with church or whatever. But Sunday dinner was mandatory.
Okay. As a matter of fact, let me make that
And
instead of nightly. My bad, Miss Bill. Instead of nightly, we'll do Sunday dinner, a regularly scheduled dinner with family.
once a week or
Yeah,
yeah.
something like that. That qualifies because family every night. That's nobody's doing that anymore. Okay. All right. All right.
But yeah, that kind of helps secure some of the things that would go wayward, because you bring it back in and ask questions. At least I did as a parent with mine, and I know that's when my mom said, "Hey, what's everybody doing for the week, and where are y'all going?" And so it got a chance to kind of keep a finger on the pulse of what was going on in the home. And I think that not having that does create some toxicity because you don't have that communication maybe as well established. It doesn't mean people don't. It makes it harder.
That's what she said. So, with that being the situation, do you think that people can get back to that, or do you think people have gone too far in their own directions, and
I believe it's a very individual family thing. If they had those values that they were raised with, or it's something that they want and demand from the family, yeah, it's always possible. But with it just being my daughter and I home, we don't eat dinner together every night. I mean, we connect more often, and we have really good conversations about who's doing what. But the rest of my family's grown, so it's I'm in a different seating position. Even though I'm a mom and everything else, I don't have a full-time family anymore, which makes it a little different. But yeah, as far as holidays go, when we go to relatives, yeah, everybody makes a list of what we're bringing, and we combine and potluck everything and work together and communicate. And we do that multiple times a year.
Who brings
Yeah,
the potato
there's
salad
no
raisin?
potato salad with raisins in it.
Look, Miss Bell, we've been friends a long time. All right, you don't have to. You ain't got to lie to me in front of the den folk. If you
Carrot salad, yes, but potato salad, no. It's got to be Southern potato salad, which I think it has mustard in it.
I mean, you and your Southern credentials are in question as well, so we'll talk about that at another time.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I'd like to hear from some of the other, especially the guy parents or the dads, and what their thoughts are on this, especially it being this generation.
All right, well, hopefully we do get some callers of every ilk, preferably some of the fellas, see how, some of these things
Absolutely.
these outcomes have impacted y'all. But Miss Bell, as always, you rang the bell, got the party started. And I appreciate you, for being frank and sharing, your story with us. So, hopefully that'll motivate some other folks to, or maybe it'll help somebody, who may be listening who have some similar situations going on. I appreciate it.
All right, I'll talk to y'all later and have a good night.
All right, Miss Bell. Good evening. Shout out to Miss Bell. Usually first name makes some of the most ridiculous points I've ever heard in my entire life, but she actually did say something very good. Something very good, right? What about parents who don't acknowledge their mistakes or apologize? So she said the kids came. Ms. Bell talked about how the kids, told her they didn't feel like she was very present, right? And if you know Ms. Bell's story, Ms. Bell has dealt with a lot, and it's understandably so, right? But some parents you could come to with issues and say, this is that, they dismiss it, they ignore it, they act like it never happened, or won't acknowledge it, won't apologize for it, is that another layer on top of the other that makes it that much worse to know that you had this impact and not acknowledge it or dismiss it or sweep it under the rug, right? Does that make it worse? Does that make you? How does it make you feel? Because these are your parents, right? These are the things, the people that raise you. You can want to feel a particular kind of way. You can say all the shit you want to say, but there's always that little inkling, always that little seed, always that little piece that's always going to be connected, regardless. You know, and you want to know your origins. You want to know everybody loves Roots. I don't know, not like Roots the movie. I'm not gonna watch all that, but their roots, to their origins, their history, their ancestors, one way or another, right? So Heidi rode that horse out of town upside down. Anyway, so what about those people who like to, who don't acknowledge that? Like, does that add a layer of insult to injury? What does that do? So, it sounds mighty white. I don't know what you're talking about, Broderick. It's very interesting. Says sitting crisscross applesauce. Oh man, last time you did. You know what? I don't want to go down the rant of nostalgia, but we need one of those good old nostalgia nights. Talk about all the things that we actually, because we've been on some angry family stuff this week. But definitely need to. Plus, it is supposed to be like a balance of real conversations, and then we need to like have some real crazy conversations. But also old sad shit lately. I mean, I got some good stuff though. Childhood 2011. That's terrible. Nobody wants to go back there. That was what happened in 2011. Now, who knows? What didn't that movie 2012 come out in 2011? And then 2012 didn't do what 2012 was supposed to do. I don't know. But again, all right, let's see. Orderly homes. Let's see what we got. What's the motherfucking deal? Who we have calling into the den this evening?
This is Dee the Gamma.
D the Gamma, Phi Slamma Gamma. How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing all right. How you doing, Honcho?
I'm doing very well. I'm glad that you have called in tonight, Ms. D. What's on your mind about tonight's topic?
Well, I was just listening. I missed the first part of everything as I was taking care of business, but so I kind of missed what the whole topic was about.
Okay. Well, to recap it, we're talking about parents who had an impact on their children negatively. Toxic parents, whether it be physical, whether it be mental, and there's various forms of mental, whether it be emotional types of abuse. Maybe they weren't aware. Maybe it was something they were lacking. But we're talking about how parents can have an impact on how the outcome of their children, sometimes without even realizing it.
Well, speaking from my own experiences, I know, like I had my kids young. I got married at a young age. I left my husband. So I think part of the toxic that they grew up in was when I was still with my husband. We argued a lot. No physical, nothing like that. We did have one physical fight, but only person that saw that was my son, and he was really too young to really understand what was going on. So I don't know, but I don't think he really remembers the whole situation. But as far as the toxic, like I think me being young and being a mother as young as I was, that like no one told me how to be a mom. So a lot of the time I was just going off of what I thought was right, for as like getting them everything that they wanted and not necessarily all of their needs, but just trying to make sure they was happy, giving them the things that I felt like I missed out on my childhood. With now, looking at it, I feel like maybe that was the wrong thing for me to do because they kind of spoiled, but they grown though. they're grown, but I think I kind of spoiled them to a point where they don't really take a lot of consideration about, hard work. Well, my son does. Let me take that back. My son does, but my daughter not so much.
That's a very interesting point. That's something we're gonna have to double back to because I believe that happens a lot, and I believe that's more so a female thing, especially with moms who are simply they want their kids to be happy. Like moms don't ever want to see their kids upset and frowning, so they do things like that with good intentions because in the moment they're getting the reaction they want, but they're not realizing how long term that constant pleasing can
Yeah,
have some very negative effects and how not only
yeah,
with the kids but how they treat other people, the way they view material things, a lot of stuff. But it's good that you see it. A lot of people don't. So you said you got married young. How young were you exactly
when I got
when you got
I
married?
got married when I was 18 years old.
18.
I had my son when I was 19.
Okay.
Had my daughter when I turned 20.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what made you decide to get married at that age?
Well, I didn't, and I really don't talk about it much, but like I was in a forced situation. My mother, um, all in my business, found out I was pregnant and made me marry my husband. She forced us to get married. I did not want to marry him. So, like back then, it was a whole thing of nobody wanted you to have a child out of wedlock. That was a big thing. If you had any kids out of wedlock, you were deemed unworthy, unfit, low class, or whatever. So she forced me to get married. She made me get married.
So now I'm gonna ask you a question. If you don't want to answer it, that's fine. It's
Okay.
a little bit personal.
Hmm.
Why were you okay with you know uh, entertaining his company in an adult way, but not necessarily wanting to marry him at that age?
Well, to answer the question, he was fine. Like he was like one of the guys in the neighborhood that everybody wanted, and I was attracted to him at that time because he had a little money, he had the cars, and all the little flash. So I was liking that. Um, when we started messing around or whatever, I didn't think about me getting pregnant. I just didn't. That's just being young and dumb. And when I found out that I was pregnant, I didn't tell my mother. She didn't find out until I was like 8 months pregnant.
Oh damn.
Yeah, I kept it because I've always been big, so she didn't know. So I just hid it, and then to why I couldn't hide it no more. And she took me to the doctor, and then she was like, "Well, y'all gonna get married," and I'm like, "I don't want to get married." And she said, "You're not having this baby out of wedlock." So, and mind you, I was 18 and grown, but she wasn't having that.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So you said that y'all kind of got into an argument. Y'all didn't work it out. What was the final straw?
Well, he pretty much slept with anybody and everybody. And I had women coming knocking on my door looking for him, and it was just too much. Like all the women that he was sleeping with. Like I was the girlfriend and I'm the wife,
Mm,
but it just got to the point where I just couldn't deal with it no more.
okay. Does your son have any womanizing tendencies?
He did when he was younger, and I really felt like that had a lot to do with what he saw between me and his dad, but he grew out of it. Like, because because he used to be real bad. I didn't think he would ever settle down, but he's actually engaged now to be married next year. So I'm happy about that.
Okay. Okay. Interesting. Very interesting. Um, so we talked about toxicity. You said your mom made you, and even though you were an adult, you complied with that. Do you feel like that your mother instilled a sense of fear in you at a young age? Do you feel like
Yes,
maybe there were some
yes.
toxic exchanges going on then, or do you feel like that was necessary?
I I love my mother. Don't get me wrong, but we lived in a very toxic situation growing up, literally. And I think just being in that environment growing up, it just I feared my mother. I don't fear her as much now because I'm grown and old, and I know she's not able to chase me down and beat me down like she used to. But she still had that fear in me that I'm like, I didn't want to displease her or, make her unhappy or nothing like that. So I pretty much did what she wanted me to do.
So,
And my dad was an alcoholic, so we had a lot of toxic situations in that household growing up. A
were there,
lot.
excuse me, were there physical exchanges between the
My
parents?
dad, he tried, but my mother wasn't going, and she would beat him down. Like she's actually choked him out, hit him with a frying pan. Like he got the worst of it. Every time he tried, he would always end up on the worst end of it.
Yeah. I guess that's a better outcome than the other way around. It's all I can understand how it can all be very traumatic as a child. It can be very conflicting. Do you think that seeing your pops kind of in those type of situations did it affect your outlook on men at all?
Yes, it did. It did.
In what way?
Cause, cause now, like even now, if a man even slightly raises his voice at me, I'm triggered, and I'm already on the defensive. And I'll give him a warning, like you might want to check your tone, you know, and let him know that it's getting to that point. You know, if he doesn't stop or whatever, 9 times out of 10, I'm leaving the situation for good.
Simply for just a raise, but what if he's trying to tell you something that is pertinent to your well-being?
It's a way to say anything. I don't like that, you know. Don't talk to me. I don't talk to people that way, and I don't expect to be talked to that way. You can talk to me like an adult, like a grown man, and I could understand and comprehend what you're saying. You don't have to talk to me like I'm your child.
What if a burglar kicks the door in, right? And the man hears it first, and you
Mhm.
just sitting there telling, what if he has to? How should he convey that message to you? Should he whisper like, "Hey, it's a
No.
motherfucking burglar in the house," or should he,
No.
should he be very calm? Hey, babe, there's a burglar in the house. Or should he raise his voice and be firm with this information?
Mhm. Well, it's like I said. It's all about the tone and your actions and your words behind it. Now, I'm not saying he got to whisper and be a punk or nothing like that, but I'm saying anything like calling me out my name or
Oh no,
disrespecting
no, no,
me
no. That's
or
unacceptable.
anything like that, we're gonna have an issue.
I mean, it's unacceptable. I mean, yeah, you should, especially if it's somebody you consider to be your significant other, you should never, use terminology with them like that ever. But so I can agree with you. I
Yeah.
can see why it would be a turn off. Okay. So do you feel like you've done what some people like to call the shadow work to resolve issues that you have had from your childhood?
Yeah. I went to therapy. I've done all that.
I mean, that's good. I mean,
I
most
had
people don't. That's good. I mean, most people don't.
I had to really, for it was a time where I couldn't even talk about it without crying or being upset. I can openly talk about it now, and it doesn't faze me, and I don't care what somebody else has to say. Uh, like I see 12. I don't even know who 12 is, but they about ready to catch the bad side of me. I don't know who this person is, but they need to shut up and
12
leave me alone.
is the one after 11.
Yeah, I'm not trying to look at the chat right now because their opinion is really irrelevant right now. So,
I feel
but
you.
anyway,
I understand what you're saying because I feel the same way about first name and her hypothetical man situations. But carry on. So you said you've gone to therapy, which is a lot more than most people do. A lot of people, try to carry that burden. Do you feel like therapy had a positive impact on how you dealt with it?
yeah, I mean, cause now, like, even though I haven't been in a relationship in 5 years, and that's because I took the time to do the work on myself. You know, um, I'm more in a better headspace. I know right now, like, what I will and will not accept, and it took some time for me to get there because before I was just try to play nice and make sure that the relationship, went well or whatever. Now, not so much. If I'm not getting what I need or what I expect, then I'm going to move around.
Nothing wrong with that. I think that should be said. You should set a bar for yourself, and there's nothing wrong with that. Okay. So, if you were to give a piece of advice from you now to 18-year-old, 8-month pregnant, day before my mama find out, Dita Gamble, what would you say?
I wouldn't allow her to make that decision for me. Even though that's my mom, I would stand on my own 2 feet and be like, I'm not getting married. I'm sorry you feel this way about the whole stigma about having kids out of wedlock, but you don't have to go through it. I'm the one that's going to have to deal with it. So I would have stood up to my mother, really, and not went along with the wedding.
Okay. Interesting. Do you think that what do you think the outcome would have been different? How different do you think the outcome would have been had you have made that decision?
I probably would only have my son because, like, he was the only child at the time I was pregnant with him. So I wouldn't have had my daughter, possibly, but I would have saved myself years and years of going through all the stuff I went through dealing with him. Because, like, I don't know if you remember, I've said before, I'm still legally married to him,
That's
but I can't find him to get a divorce. And I've been trying for years and years and years
I did not put two
to
and two
get,
together. I remember you said that you were still legally married, but I did not put that two.
yeah,
Okay.
I still have not been able to find him. And I've done everything people said, do the newspaper, do all this. He cannot be found. I know somebody knows where he is, but it's like they're playing keep away because I don't know where he is.
I'm I'm almost. I'm gonna mind my own business. I'm gonna leave that alone.
What? What? Go ahead.
No, I mean anybody can be found. Just about how bad you really want to find them. But
I've done searches. I've even went to Maximus where he was used to paying me child support. They wouldn't give me any information. His mother's deceased. His dad, I don't know where his dad is. And I haven't run into any of his siblings because he's like 16 brothers and sisters, and I haven't seen any of them.
Oh shit! If you got that, especially if you got that, oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. You just got to play a game of Where's Waldo. You'll find what you're looking for if you look hard enough. You can find what you're looking for. Yeah. I mean, it's just about how
I
bad
do
you
want that's the on the top of my bucket list to get a final divorce.
are. Interesting. That's interesting. Okay. All right. That's yeah. That's a lot going on. So what happens if you meet the man of your dreams tomorrow? How do you what happens? And he says he wants to get married.
Well,
How do you handle it?
I tell him like it's point blank period. I I tell him the whole situation. Like I haven't been able to find my ex-husband. Like technically, we have not been in the same household since 1994.
94 was a good year.
Yeah, so that's a long time, and I haven't seen him since then either. I couldn't tell you. I know what he looked like, but like today, I wouldn't know what he looked like because I haven't seen him. He could look like his brother. He got a brother that looks like they could be passed as twins. I'd probably think it was his brother instead of him. You know,
What
that is
if? How would you feel if he transitioned?
honestly, I'd be happy. And I know that's bad to say. I know that's bad to say. I'm sorry, but it's really how I feel.
So I think we're talking about two different kinds of transitioning here. Uh, I think you're thinking about transitioning into the afterlife. Uh,
You talk,
huh?
what you talking about? Transitioning how?
Um, shout out to Dan. I appreciate the love. Shout out to Dan, the man. That's why the stuff don't be short. Shout out to Dan, the man. I appreciate the love, brother, man. I'm talking about, the popular kind of transitioning. Uh, what if he's a prideful man?
Oh, that would be hilarious.
Yeah,
But I would love to see that.
yeah.
That would be hilarious.
All right. Salute to Dan. Thank you, sir. All right, Miss D. Is there anything else that you would like to? You have shared a good bit, and I thank you for that. One, I'm very appreciative, for you being, frank and sharing
Yeah.
your story with us because that's what makes the den great, being able to hear these things. Because I'd never thunk it, but definitely. Is there anything else that you would like to add?
Well, that's just that I know that I have had toxic traits. You know, like I still have a little like towards me being kind of bossy, but that's only because, like I said, I know what I like, I know what I want. So that might come across as a little toxic to people. I don't know, but that's pretty much it. You know. I'm gonna let somebody else get on the line.
All right. Well, I thank you, ma'am, and I sincerely appreciate you calling in this evening. Um,
Hmm.
definitely gave me a few things to think about. It's something you said that we may have to make a whole conversation about. We'll get back to that.
All right, so you have a good night.
All right, yes, ma'am. You as well. Thank you. Shout out to Phi Slamma Gamma, D the Gamma. Um, wow, 94. The 30-year anniversary of that is coming up. Like, yeah. Uh, but she sounded acting so. Who are you talking about? I mean, if he's alive, that's the caveat. If he's alive, you can. Um, it's just about how much effort are you willing to put in. It really, Hmm. Yeah, the 10th grade. I think I was in the, what, third or fourth grade? Probably 90. I don't know. One of them years. Just probably eating Ninja Turtle cereal and shit. Uh, Man, look. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If you willing to cut the check on that back child support, look, we can assemble a team of child support Avengers. We'll get that shit done. We will resolve the matter. What's the motherfucking deal? Who do we have calling in to the den this evening?
Hey, what's up, Honcho? It's all an illusion.
Illusion. What's the motherfucking? How you doing this evening, sir?
I'm good, bro. How are you?
Doing very well, very well. Um, I mean, what are your thoughts on some of the calls this evening?
Well, I think that Gamma is toxic because she says it's toxic to know exactly what you want, but we all know women don't know what the hell they want. So that was toxic. And then I didn't really listen to Miss Bell's call the whole time, but I did catch the family meeting part. And I have a lot of questions too, but we could save that for a different time. Like, I still want to understand carrot salad.
Yeah,
Have you had carrot salad?
I don't think I have. If I did, it was definitely unremarkable. Yeah, that's. I kind of glossed over that because I wasn't familiar. It was unfamiliar territory for me, so I didn't want to dive too deep into that one. But yeah, she'll definitely have to. They have to inform us on that one because I'm not too familiar with the carrot salad. What ingredients are in the carrot salad? Could you share those in the chat, Miss Bell? Would definitely like to know what all goes into that.
Is it coleslaw, but just with, like, stringy carrot? I don't know.
Could be. That's what I imagine. Something like that.
But what I really call probably the greatest troll I've seen since Heidi. She made a comment that men don't care about parenting.
Yes.
And don't get me wrong, but there are toxic dads out there, for sure. There are toxic men out there. But if you get the privilege of having only one parent to be not toxic, because that right now that is a privilege, you're definitely going to want to have a dad who is not toxic over a mom who is not toxic. And if they're both toxic, you're still going to want the dad over the mom if you're only going to have one parent. Because you how many good moms out there, everybody praises them. Oh, this is such a great mother. Oh, look, she fucking woke up and made sure her kids were alive. You know? Like, you don't see dads walking around, ones that aren't toxic, with fucking $50 worth of makeup on their face and $1,000 purse and $1,000 pair of shoes so that they could go to work in it. Like, you don't really see that. Like, men sacrifice at a higher rate than women.
Yes.
And I'm not a he-man woman hater. I used to be, but I'm not anymore. But the truth is the truth. Thanks, Mario. But yeah, men will sacrifice at a higher rate than women do. Like, when a man actually sticks around for his kids, sometimes he's got to go through a lot to be able to do that. He's going to be way more willing to sacrifice to make sure his kids have everything that they need and then want before a woman does. And the likelihood of him getting an extra check from the mom or food stamps or whatever is less. It's less likely.
Significantly less likely.
Yes. And men love different than women do.
Yeah, absolutely.
When a woman punishes her children and she sees the disappointment in their face, she's less likely to tolerate that disappointment without having an emotional reaction to it. Either by backing off of the discipline and the punishment because they don't like the disappointment, or by going even harder at them because they have a poor attitude at the fact that they were just disciplined. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Like, if a mom takes a kid's Xbox away because they got bad grades and the kid gets super disappointed about it and has an attitude, the mom may wait a couple hours and give it back. Just don't do it again. Or she might be like, oh, you stupid motherfucker, you're going to not be shit just like your dad. And then we're just going to run your fucking Xbox over instead. And now you have no fucking Xbox. When the dad is a lot more likely to be like, I don't care if that hurts your feelings. You knew the rules, you didn't follow them.
Absolutely. This is very true. You are describing situations to a fucking T here. Yeah, I agree, but I agree because I mean, it's even statistically, you know, it shows that kids are better off with a father than a single father or in a two-parent home compared to statistically being with a mother alone. But they don't promote that. You know, that conversation is not what we're really having these days. It's always about men are bad, even though, like you said, they sacrifice at a much higher rate. That's not acknowledged. That's dismissed. Do you think that this situation will ever change, or do you think that it's permanently ingrained in society that it's going to be this way from here on out?
I mean, that's kind of like the same answer anytime you have these societal streams and take the calls, like, yeah, it's going to change, but it's just going to be a real fucked up process. And it's going to be real difficult for, man, the dudes that can't hang are just going to go. Because nobody's saving us. You either save yourself and your family or you die. But the women that can't get over their pride, they're going to go too. Like, you're going to have to go beg a man to protect you. And you're going to, like, cuss him out while you do it, I guess. Yeah. And that's just not going to work.
The mental conflict, the internal conflict that they're going to go through in a situation like that, and not having learned how to, I guess, for lack of a better word, take correction. Yeah, they're definitely going to be on the outside looking in, but they won't be outside for too long. It won't be too long.
Yeah, they'll get over it, you know, like, but this, like, I don't know Gamma like that, but like, that's a very, and I'm really not trying to be disrespectful, but she called and put herself on the platform. Like, that attitude towards things where, like, everything is everyone else's fault is just, like, that in and of itself is extremely toxic. Like, oh, my relationship fell because he was a womanizer. I didn't do nothing wrong. I got married because my mother made me. I didn't do nothing wrong. These toxic traits are because of all these things these other people did to me. I didn't do nothing wrong. But that's an issue that permeates everybody, all of society, men and women.
Yeah, I definitely agree. That's my biggest cause of repeat offenders in the criminal justice system, the lack of accountability. But,
and that starts in the home for sure. And it starts by having rules, enforcing the rules, and not being worried about the disappointment from your children after. There's a lot of, me and Dre were talking about this last night. Like, a lot of parents want to be friends with their kids now.
Yeah.
Even as they're growing up still. Like, when they're adults, of course that's fine, but like, you can't What the fuck you got? You're 30 years old. What you got in common with the 15 or 10-year-old? What do you have in common with them? Why you want to be friends? Why do you care if they like you?
Right.
And then that's what I'm saying. Men love different because men don't need that gratification of a positive reaction from their child. Real men don't need that gratification. Oh, my kid likes me. They don't need that gratification. And women, not all, but women generally thrive on gratification, on being affirmed.
Definitely agree. I mean, I can't dispute that. That is definitely true. They're easily manipulated. I think that's why I said that the that women are more manipulated by the kids because kids are aware and they realize that their moms want to be more, like you said, friends with them, and they use that to their advantage. They use these things. But also, I think that there's emotional manipulation on behalf of the parents. Like when you talk about these things, how do you feel about parents who try to force their kids into a certain mold? Do you think that's it's good to set a standard, or do you think that could be a bad outcome for the child?
Do you have like a example?
So say like kind of what I refer to, like say a guy who tries to force his son to play football or something because he wanted to be a football star, living vicariously through his kid through these sports and things. Maybe the kid doesn't even really want to do that. Or, is it good that the kid is having these experiences, that I guess enriches his life or whatever you want to call it? Like, is it necessary, or do you think that some parents could be over the top?
I don't think it's good to force them to do something that they don't want to do necessarily, because you could create resentment in that way. And like when kids grow up with resentment, they can't even really understand that that's what it is resentment. They just act out in different ways. But if they say they want to do something and then decide after trying it that they don't like it, they need to finish the season type shit.
Okay.
But I don't think well, I'm being kind of a hypocrite because I have forced my kids to do certain stuff, but it was more discipline related. Like I forced my son to join boxing.
Yeah.
But it was because I can't beat him up.
Yeah.
So we let somebody else do it.
Yeah.
And that worked out for the better. But like I think it's important for kids, especially boys, to be in sports because it teaches a different form of discipline.
I agree. And I don't think there's enough outlet for young men, especially young boys, 'cause even in the school system, it's not designed for boys. You know what I mean? They want you to sit in a fucking seat and do all this other stuff. So there's not a lot of outlets for young men to expel that energy in a positive way. So I definitely agree with, being in activities and some type of activity.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and we were talking about it earlier in the Discord, like school is just a training ground to create employees.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not to create a free thinker or even just a logical thinker or critical thinker. It's just like, no, you got to be here at this time. You got to sit here for this amount of time and do what we tell you to do. And then we give you 10 minutes and then do it again, 10 minutes, do it again. Leave at this time, come back at this time.
Yeah, it's crazy. But, people have bought into it. You would think things have changed. But again, it is what it is. That's definitely a different conversation. No, it's not Big M, Ashley. Okay. So, like, maybe you personally growing up, do you feel like that, maybe your parents had some level of toxicity that they left on you, or do you feel like, it's something that made you a better man? Or if you don't want to share that at all, then, definitely understand that too.
No, I actually have a good, like, just, it's anecdotal, because there's not, but my mom and dad were super toxic. Like, they fought about everything. Like, no, they didn't agree about anything. I don't think, my mom got pregnant with me whenever she was 17 and my dad was 18. And so it was a similar situation to what Gamma was saying. But they used to just split. Like, they would just split up. But for some reason, my dad would always take me with him. My brother and my sister would end up staying with my mom. They were younger than me. But my dad, wherever my dad went, I had to go. And I used to be mad at him for it. Because I wasn't with my mom or my brother and my sister. But now that I'm older, I could tell the difference because my brother still lives with my mom and dad. He's married and has kids and still lives with my mom and dad. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Like, he can't leave the nest. I've been gone since I was 16.
Yeah.
And my sister passed away in 2017.
Oh, man, I'm sorry to hear that.
Appreciate that. But she was also like, neither one of them finished school. I'm the only one that graduated. I'm the only one with a career. I'm the only one that moved out of the house and took care of his family by himself. And I don't find it to be a coincidence that my dad would make me go with him, and I'm the one with that outcome. And don't get me wrong, I made hella mistakes.
Yeah.
Like, I did a lot of stupid shit. A lot of stupid shit. I'm very blessed to be in the position that I'm in. I'm blessed to be alive.
Yeah.
But being able to overcome some of the situations I put myself in, I believe it was because I was always with my dad.
You think he pushed you through certain situations or made you maybe deal with certain things or figure things out? Like, how would you say his approach was with you that was different than maybe your mom?
Like a caveman.
Like,
like Grunt, and that was it.
No.
There was no complaining. There was no crying. There was no, I can't do this. That shit just didn't happen. And I was afraid of him.
Yeah.
Like, he would tell me shit like, I can make you disappear and make another one that looks just like you. And I believed him.
Yeah. Damn.
So I just didn't want to until I left the house. And at the same time, he didn't play no shit. I got in trouble in school, and I got in kind of a lot of trouble for something I had done in school.
Yeah.
And he told me to get out. He was like, I've been telling you that you were gonna get caught up in this shit. You didn't listen to me. When I knew you were doing what you were doing, you still didn't listen to me. Now you got caught, and I'm not gonna deal with all this shit. I have my own shit I gotta take care of. So you wanna act like a grown man, get out there and be a grown man. And I finished school.
Yeah.
I finished high school. I fucked up a lot, but I'm good.
Yeah. But that's what's happening. I mean, well, I think it's a different thing. Like I said, again, a man knows what's going to happen. Sometimes that's necessary. Because you look at it, would you have rather gone through the things that you had to go through, the fuck-ups that you had to go through, or, be your brother who's still at the house? And I think that most men would take the option of going through those fuck-ups to be independent and, self-sufficient and be able to stand on his own 10. I don't think, it's the process was probably tough, probably very tough. I can only imagine. But, I think it's the more commendable way. So I see that.
I wouldn't trade it. I wouldn't trade any of the positions I found myself in, because one thing I do know is that it's going to be different from now on. My dad, he had it real bad growing up.
Yep.
It's funny because my dad always kept me with him. Well, when his mom split, she took like three of three of my uncles and aunts with her and left the rest with my dad and his dad. And his dad was an alcoholic. And he was the type of alcoholic that would like go on benders and shit and not come home.
Yeah.
So my dad was raising his brothers and sisters with no running water type shit.
Shit.
So he did way better.
Yeah.
And then now I'm pretty sure that with my kid, my son, that cycle's broken.
How is your dad with your son?
How is he with my son?
Yes, sir.
I'm jealous. Like he like the relationship between them two, and I say that jokingly,
Yeah.
but the relationship between them two is something that like I wish that every young man could go through with their grandfather.
Yeah.
He takes the time to teach him shit. My dad's real handy, and so he teaches him how to work on cars. He teaches him how to like lay down tile and shit like that. How to like remodel homes and stuff like that. And that's stuff that me and him we didn't do together because he was just always busy and I had no interest.
Yeah. I think that's how it always works. It's just that the direct lineage, you get treated a certain way, but as soon as you have a kid, when they become grandparents and stuff, they're always real kind to the kid. Like, hey, what the fuck happened with me? Why you ain't do that with me? But yeah, that's something I've noticed with a lot of folks.
And he checks me a lot too. He's checked me a lot throughout the years. Like stuff that my dad would do to me, my dad used to just smack me up.
Yeah.
Like if I said something disrespectful, I was just going to catch hands.
Yeah.
I stopped getting spanked like at 10, 11. Just started getting smacked in the back of the head.
Yeah.
And when I would do stuff like that, even spank him sometimes, my dad would be like, Mijo, no. Like, you don't need to do that. You just need to talk to him.
Yeah.
He just doesn't know any better.
Yeah.
And at first I'd be like, who are you to tell me? But over the years I've learned just to listen to him because I think he's telling me what he wishes he would have done different.
Yeah.
Which is something men do. And I have never heard my mom try to give any advice to my wife or her mom try to give her any advice when it comes to parenting. They'll check them in like a toxic ass way in front of my kids.
Oh no. That's crazy. I mean, that's I really honestly don't have any further. It's a very interesting dynamic. I'm glad actually that a man is called in because I think we see things at a different perspective. Because I think we've all gone through certain levels of dealing with toxic traits, but I think men look at the outcome differently than women do. And again, no story is one to one. They're all, everybody's dealing with their own things, so you don't know what you don't know. But I just think that on the back end, when you're looking back in retrospect, I think men look at things a little bit differently than women do.
I think men come to the conclusion easier that life is nothing but a training. It's just school. It's just we're just here learning. And so it's easier for a man to see those negative situations that they've been through and identify how that may have impacted them. Not saying all men do it. I just think it's easier for men because we just have that logical operation. And so it's easier for us to, instead of repeating cycles, to understand what we can learn from these negative situations that we find ourselves in. And I was going to come in hot too. But I was like, no, I'm going to let Honcho steer this one. He just asked me the questions. And cause I was coming in hot. First name is a great troll.
Oh, yeah, definitely can get under the flesh a little bit. But yeah.
Yes, sir.
But I appreciate it. And again, Mr. Lucy, another great conversation. Especially been some great conversation in the Discord lately. But I thank you for calling in and sharing, some more personal stuff. And, that hopefully somebody's taking something from it and in a positive way, because people tend to look for the negatives, everything, especially when men call in. But hopefully, someone's taking it in a positive way and is learning something from
Yeah, I hope so too. And I also don't care.
it. Hey, that's how it works, baby. Well, that's a bit. Well, I appreciate you calling in this evening, sir.
All right, Honcho.
All right, shout out to
Later.
you, man. Thank you, sir. Great call, great call. Um, First name, call in. I've been wanting to talk to you for a while. You don't want to talk to me. You're just mean to me. I've been wanting to hear from you for a while now. What's the motherfucking deal? Who do we have calling in to the den this evening?
Hey man, it's Elise.
Solis. What's going on, Mr. Solis? What is on your mind? How do you feel about the topic? How do you feel about the calls that have taken place this evening? What's on your mind, Mr. Solis?
I think the calls are good, man. Honestly, I just want to share my experience. Like,
Okay.
I have a toxic parent. Like, my mom's toxic. I would say that for the most part. I don't think I think she did the best with what she had. I think that. I think she could have done better, I guess. How she raised me and my sister. But I just think, man, it's a fine line between a parent that chooses to do better for the kid, and that a parent that is still learning the ropes of how to do better for the kid, right? So I'm meaning like, my mom was a young parent, was like most of these people, right? Their parents seem to be young parents, and they were young parents themselves. My mom had me like, I'm the oldest. My mom had me when she was either 18 or 19, and comparatively speaking, like how she raised me or how I was raised compared to my siblings, is like almost like night and day. It's a lot different. And I wouldn't say it's different for the better. It's different for the worse. In a sense, like my siblings, like they're younger than me. Like my sister's 2 years younger than me. My brother is about 4.5 years younger than me. And they're both fellows already. My brother's already dropped out of high school. He's already got a kid on the way. Actually, the kid's happening tonight, so I'm gonna be on there tonight. But and my sister, she was a runaway at 14. She was in the system for like 2 years. Like I didn't see my sister for 2 years. She was at the correctional facility during her teenage years.
Yeah.
And so it's just a lot of things that I just don't think how like she handled it really really well. Like a saying that she had when my siblings were doing the best is like, you can bring a cow to the trough, but you can't make the cow drink the water. And that was her analogy of why she couldn't, like, I guess, make my siblings do better or change. Make them just not do stupid shit. Not have to be fuzzy. Granted, they're all their own people, but you're their mom. Like, they're living in your house, but you're rules. Like, no, I don't want to hear no shit. Like, you can't tell them nothing. Like, no. And I'm saying this because, I was, like, at 7 years old, bro, I was already, like, told, hey, man, you're the man of the house. You want to tell those little kids that. Like, fucking, especially when, what the fuck that little kid needs to how to be a man. And, or, I was out doing shit around the house and stuff. And, my brother was at the age, like, I was outside doing yard work, maybe around 10, 11 years old, learning how to work with weed eaters and shit like that. You think I wanted to do that shit? Well, no.
Yeah.
But, like, compared to my brother, he was around that age, he wasn't learning that shit. Like, and I would always thought it would be weird. Of how you made me do this thing, but you're not making my brother do this. And he's the same age. I was like, come on now.
When he was the same age as you, were you still handling those responsibilities? Like, were you still doing the stuff around the house?
Oh yeah, I moved out of my mom's house when I was 17 after high school. But until then, yeah, I was basically, like a father figure. I was there for myself. And more so compared to, I guess me and my mom's relationship was more friendly, I guess I would say, more than a mother-son relationship.
So, like, what do you feel like the difference was, in how she parented you versus, your brothers? Like, what changed? What behavior changed, or what was it that you
Well,
feel had the?
I think my grandma was a big part of it. My grandma was in our life at an early age, living with her during a certain point of time, and she was the one that gave me a lot more structure. I would say, so that I think that's what it helped me do. I had someone on my ass, telling me to do right, not do wrong. But whether when we were living out just with my mom, more really washed, right? So more, idle minds tend to do idle things, right? So you get more in mischief, hang around with wrong people or whatever. But it was more like I would get harped on because I was the oldest and I had to set an example. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm still a kid though, it's still a learning process for me too. There ain't no fucking playbook or fucking book of what to read about how to fucking navigate life. I just thought I think she was a lot more lackluster, I would say, right? So I never had a stepdad. My mom had boyfriends, right? And she never chose, I guess, good people. Does that make sense? She chose people that would be shitty. I would be 15, 16, fighting a grown-ass 40-year-old man. And, he probably had to take a punch, for sure, maybe definitely because there's a chip on my shoulder and shit like that. I think you'll shit for people eventually, but this shit was kind of fucked up, man. You think about a 15-year-old kid fighting a grown-ass man.
So I'm gonna ask you a question after this. So after this altercation between the two of you, did your mother remain with that man?
Eventually, yeah, she stayed with him for a little bit. It wasn't until my end of sophomore year, junior year is when they actually separated.
So how did she react to the fact that y'all got into it?
It was lackluster, man. I'm telling you, bro. It was my mom. How they say mothers are emotional creep. They're emotional with their children. I never feel like I got emotional love, bro.
Yeah.
If that's I'm more. My girl would say this too. I'm more unemotionally not there. I'm just emotionally out of touch.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's because I never got it, so I'm just more distant. But it would be. I would have gotten coddled, or hey, stop, whatever. But it was no deep talk between what was happening. And the only reason why they separated is because he got his drugs bad.
Okay.
So she didn't really want that around. But compared to my sister and siblings, she mostly coddled my sister. Like I said, right, she wouldn't really tell her, correct her what to do. I just always thought that was kind of just fucked up. Especially when my sister's 2 years younger than me. And mind you, modern day now, I got my own house, I got my own land. I'm living decent. I'm happy. My brother and sister still live with my mom. Ain't really doing shit. I got a decent job. I got a career, I would say.
Yeah.
And they ain't really nothing. They just still back in, my old hometown. They ain't really doing shit. Being bums, in my opinion, because it's not in the sense they're not doing shit. Well, they're not doing shit, but they're wasting their potential. My brother, I would say he's the most naturally smartest out of all three of us.
Yeah.
Most naturally gifted. This dude could ace test us, doesn't have to study for him to do shit like that. He could have gotten a college scholarship. He could have done something better than what he's using his potential as.
I'm gonna ask you. I'm gonna ask you the same question I asked Mr. Illusion, if you don't mind, and kind of looking at it, would you trade childhoods for adult outcomes? So how you felt you were kind of levied with a lot more responsibility than your brother or sister. Would you trade that for their childhood to have the outcome that they're having now?
No, like, I wouldn't trade my childhood. I mean, I think everything happens for a reason. I just think that if I was in their shoes, it'd be different. Like, I would try to be more aware of certain things. But I really think, man, they're stuck. You know, you get in a certain mentality and stuff, and you don't really think about nothing else. I think I think for me, it was a lot of influence, right? It was a certain amount of trauma, a certain amount of exposure to certain things that also taught me to see different. Like, I lived in the ghetto, man. I lived in the suburbs. I lived in the country. Like, at a young age, so I was able to see a lot of different things, a lot of different perspectives, and open my mind to, like, hey, what's out there. I wasn't just stuck in one place. Like, as akin to my siblings, you know, especially my brother, because he wasn't really, I guess, he was like a kid when he was in the suburbs with my grandma. But when you lived out here, you know, you start becoming a teenager, your more formative years, you know, you start kind of getting like, oh, this is my reality type thing. My sister, I would say she's a follower.
So you're not you have no youth, no children or anything like that. But do you feel
No,
like
yeah.
there is something that if you were to, do you feel like you're the way you were raised? Do you feel like there's something that you would take from that you would apply to raising your child, or would you do something totally different?
I would feel like I'd be more anxious and cautious about, like, especially if they're little, and then I'll be more, I guess, more aware, right? Because I think parents forget that they were kids too at one point, where they were teenagers. So, you know, some parents are just like, oh, I would have done something different. Like, yeah, right. You were doing the same shit I was doing at my age. Get the fuck out of here. You trying to put me on a high horse. When you were doing the same shit as a kid, like, I think it's very convoluted. I think parents also are selfish in a sense when they forget that. Like, that they were a kid once to put yourself in your shoes.
Yeah, I do think a lot of parents do forget that. And life can make you, you know, it can numb you along the way, and disconnect you from some things. So, but I kind of keep it part. We have just a long day, but I kind of agree with you. As far as when you look back on things, you say, you know, there's no rules to this thing, and it's kind of hard. There's a balance between parents who are doing everything they can versus I forgot exactly how to put it. I wrote it down, but you said versus the ones who are kind of learning. But I think there has to be a willingness to learn. I don't know if every parent does. Some parents kind of see the outcome and they say, "Oh, it is what it is," but they don't. They don't go to any other resource. They don't go to look to somebody else or even try to find a suggestion or advice. That's just kind of the deal. Oh, well, it is what it is. I can't do anything. Like, what do you think is an option for somebody who is like that, who thinks that way? What do you think they really can do, or do you think they've just given up hope?
Stop being arrogant. But for the most part, you know, understand that you're still human. You don't have shit figured out too, and you're still running life. Like right now, right? Since I got my own place and stuff, like my mom will sometimes say some sly shit to be like, "Oh, I guess you don't want me around," or some shit like that. Or just some sly shit because I don't live with her. I'm like, well, that's like, because the reason why I left it when I was 17 anyways is because she wanted me out the house. Like, when I was turning 17, she was like, "What are you gonna do? Like, what's your plan?" I was like, "I don't know. Like, you're not gonna tell us to this life. Skip us both the fucking senior year. Like, I don't fucking know what I'm gonna do. You asking me for what were you gonna do after high school?"
Yeah.
But you know, like, and it was just more like the eager and the push. That's when I just finally got my grandma was jealous. You know, things changed for the better, I would say. But yeah, it's just kind of mind-boggling that, like, how she now when I'm 24 years old now, you know, I'm on place and stuff, but like she's saying like sly shit, oh, I guess you don't want me here, or when, you know, I remember I was 17, you wanted me out your own house, like you could saying get the fuck out, she wanted me to go.
Yeah. That's interesting.
I just think it's weird. I think she's jealous because, you know, the reason why I don't have kids is, you know, the main part when I was younger, you know, not having shit, and I didn't want my kid growing up not having shit or not having the opportunities that I could give them. You know, I don't want to be in a cycle. That was my main thing. I didn't want to be in a cycle. I don't want to be stuck.
And you brought up
And I
something I
think she,
didn't even mention today about parents being jealous of their children. Now, I'm not saying necessarily that in that position, but that is also a thing that does happen a lot. I didn't even think about that to see
I,
parents.
and I think my mom is jealous or envious of my life because I made better choices. I seek to do better, I guess, to be more a better person and not just,
Do
you know,
you
living off the
has
street.
she ever made any kind of statement like as far as blaming you or anything for maybe her not eventually? I know I've heard a lot of women who have had children young and they blame the kids for them not being able to advance or do the things that they believe they wanted to. I think it's a cop out personally, but I'm just curious if maybe that was ever anything you may have heard or dealt with.
Well, I'm gonna be honest. Like, my mom never expected me to amount to anything but to go to jail or be dead. That's what I remember. Senior year after I graduated, like, what do you like? What do you want from me? What do you expect from me to be? She's like, I honestly didn't expect you to graduate high school.
Wow.
So the level, like, she never saved college for me or nothing like that.
Mm.
So the bar was already set low for me to succeed. Like, it wasn't even, if I couldn't graduate high school, you didn't really think I could amount to anything in the sense of my situation and circumstances.
Yeah, that's the standard of the bar right there. Yeah, that's. But so and it's crazy to hear. How much would you say your mother was hands on at any time with your education?
Oh, she wasn't hands-on in my education at all, man. I was freshman year I started high school. I was failing grades, bro. Like, I used to go to a 5A high school in McKinney. And you know how big high schools are. Like, if you get fucking held back, you might as well fucking retake the grade because they're just moving you fast. It's too big of a class for them to, like, slow down and try to help you out.
Yeah.
And when there's 20 other kids already, at the level where they need to be. So, like, I was failing, man. I had, like, 40s in class. My mom tried to take my phone, take my PlayStation controllers and stuff. And at a point, like, I didn't give a fuck. Like, you could do whatever. I wasn't going to pass the class. I told him, man, like, do whatever. Right? At a certain point, I just gave up on myself. I was done with the arguing. I was done with just the behavior. Like, I used to tell my girl, like, sometimes, like, I was one of those kids that at the end of the day of school happening, I regret going home. Like, it was just a bother going home. Yeah. I didn't want to be there, like, it sucked. To tell you the truth, like, it sucks sometimes. Because who wants to go home and just argue? But, like, I felt better at school.
That's a wild thing, man. That's a crazy thing. I mean, that to be the place that you prefer to be, because most times, you hate going to school. I don't want to go to school. I mean, you see your friends at school and shit, but yeah, that's I can only imagine. I mean, that's all I can do is imagine how that had an impact on you. Every day you go through that feeling of not wanting to go home because you don't want to do it, man. Yeah, that definitely has left some emotional scarring. That's wild. But do you feel forgiveness for your mom, or are you mad, or do you feel like it's just not a thing? You just kind of accept it is what it is. Like, how do you handle it?
At this point, I think I'm kind of like numb, or like, yeah, it kind of is what it is, I'm not like, I still love my mom, I love her and stuff.
Oh, but I can't hear anything. It kind of like it got real robotic static. I couldn't understand anything you just said. My apology.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yes.
Okay. So, like, I'm not
Okay, I might have lied. I think I lied a little bit because I can't. I can't hear you.
Oh shit!
It's cutting out a bit.
It said his dad is on right there.
Mic check 1 2 1 2.
1 2. Hello.
Yeah.
Mic check.
All right. I think you good now.
All right, my bad. Yeah, I'm driving right now, man. That's all. But I still love my mom. I tell her I love her and stuff. I got no hard feelings. It's more like I'm numb or just like overlook it or ignore it. Right, most of the time. Of anything that has said now, like just kind of over it at this. I think at a certain point I'll probably be done and if it was to continue like this, but just kind of over it, man.
I understand that. Have you ever brought it up like to her as an issue or tried to address it, or just kind of always
Yeah,
just?
yeah. My mom plays the dumb white bitch card all the time. She just looks things there like, "Oh, I'm sorry, son." Yada yada yada.
Yeah.
It's just more frustrating. I think it's her ignorance has gone up ever since COVID happened, right? So she's like, before she was like a level-headed person. You talk to her about certain things, she kind of understand. Now she's just kind of like far out conspiracy theorist. Like, I could agree with some things. I'm a conspiracy theorist too. I agree with some things you say, but sometimes just too much out of there to where you're losing. And if you're losing me, that means you're kind of going off because I'm a deep conspiracy theorist.
Yeah.
If you're losing me, then yeah, you're going off.
Yeah, I can understand that. Definitely. Okay.
Like she's cool. It's like night and day sometimes. Like she's cool to talk to, and she'll be very energetic in it. And then sometimes it should be like a switch, and she'll be like very down and mopey and like just fucking a dick sometimes. Like like a dick. Like she's a welder and stuff, but she has like kind of a smart ass attitude.
Yeah. What kind of dog is that?
It's a German Shepherd, man. I'm home now. I just got off of work.
Okay.
But all right, man. I'll let someone else call. I just want to share my experience, man.
Okay. Well, fellas, man, I appreciate you calling in, especially after a hard day's work, man. Like I said, it's the insights like these that make the den what it is. Like I said, these are things that I'm not familiar with. And I appreciate y'all, being willing to open up and share your story. I know it's not an easy thing, but I am definitely grateful for it. So I thank you for calling in this evening, sir.
No problem, Honcho.
All right. Give a good evening. Get some rest, man.
You too, man.
All right. We're gonna make that one the last one for the evening. All right. But what we are gonna do is first let me go ahead and get the link real quick. Posting it. There have been some great conversations going on in the Discord lately. Broderick has been getting manhandled by everybody, getting bell body slammed, dropping bell bombs on him. So, Broderick's going to need to do a couple of push-ups if you're going to pull up in the den tonight, because they've been on your ace. I just want to say shout out to everybody who's been back kind of in the Discord. It's feeling that, it's getting that old den vibe back. It's been some good conversations over the late night. It's been, I be trying to hang. I can't hang like I used to. My diet too bad. I need to eat something I ate the other day. Oh yeah, I did. I ate a bunch of berries. I've been eating a bunch of fucking fruits and berries. I've been on this whole no more. I don't say no more shit out the box. Like I've been buying groceries. Look, I don't give a shit. Look, if you got the food stamp plug, hit me in the DMs. Look, that shit is so scary. Dog, look, I ain't even finna get into it. We'll talk about that in Discord. But the fucking look, it's been tough, man. Food is high. Build back better, right? But look, yeah, if you got, I stumbled across one a while back, and look, I filled up. You know what I'm saying? So, look, you gotta do what you gotta do. Allegedly. But so yeah, I got like all this regular food, right? I don't really be cooking like that. I started cooking more, right? So I made, I've been back cooking since I moved. I really ain't been cooking over here, but because something's wrong with my stove, I need to figure it out. I don't know if it's it's something off. Like the bitch don't heat right, so I don't use the oven part, but the stove itself, I guess I could. But yeah, my stupid ass ain't defrost nothing, so like I was eating a bunch of fucking berries, like a bunch of fucking raspberries and fucking blueberries and blackberries. And I'm all out of berries, and I don't have nothing to frost now, so now I can't pull the same stunt tomorrow. Yeah, I did good. I hadn't even been buying I lied. I bought a box of my favorite fruit snacks, and I bought a box of Golden Grams. Other than that, everything else was either like meats or fruits and vegetables. So I think that was pretty good. 'Cause normally I'd be buying a box of this bullshit, buy some chips, but I bought HEB tortilla chips. I ain't gonna lie, I did. I bought some HEB tortilla. That's the only thing I bought in the bag. But let me put this link up in here. Right. Yeah, I'm definitely still calling food stamps, even though it's the card. Look, I saw something today that was super funny. Somebody posted that they gave a girl some money for their food stamps, and the bitch gave them a card with nothing on it, ran off on them. And they said she just randomly happened to check the card today or recently, and now it's a bunch of money on that motherfucker. And now the bitch mad trying to fight her because she want the card back. I'm like, shit, that's your card. Now you sold me the entire existence of this card for $250 when you ran off on me. You know what I'm saying? Shit. I'm gonna go ahead and hold that down. That's me, baby. Appreciate it. You know what I'm saying? Like that's karma like a motherfucker. That $250 just went up, baby. I'm talking about frosted flakes. There, I was talking about in the thing last night how back in the day cereals used to have like the actual name, fucking corn flakes, raisin bran, frosted flakes. So like you can get frosted flakes, like the Kellogg's frosted flakes, or you can go to the store and get frosted flakes, but it's not going to be frosted flakes, but it's an actual description of what the fuck it is. Like only back in the day, old companies used to have these names. Those are the best names. The old general name, Standard Oil. Like, well, that's a great fucking name, right? It's the Standard of Oil. It's super basic. You know, you think about shit like that. So, you know, it is what it is. But yeah, here's my deal though. Normally, you look down on store brand stuff. Only store brand that I automatically always put over any of the name brands is HEB brand shit. Right? Like HEB brand shit is just better. It just is. HEB got better orange juice. Damn that simply orange, fake ass orange juice shit. The HEB brand is way better. Right? And they got they got that real orange juice you can buy. Not like you can get the orange juice or the OJ, but you can go get like the fresh squeezed orange juice. That's exactly how they spell that shit too. But and that shit is great. HEB is just the best. But just became an uncle. Oh, shout out to Uncle Solis. Hold up, baby. You know what I'm saying? Sugar pop. Oh, all right, real quick. We got about 7 more minutes. Might drag up slightly early. But go ahead and drop it in the chat. Favorite cereal? Because we were having an argument about that. Of course, Trill's gonna say Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Don't let me hear that shit. I personally am a Golden Grams fan myself. Broderick, this nigga said Honey Smacks, which have to be some of the worst cereal to ever be just formulated. Like whatever laboratory they make the cereal in for Kellogg's or General Mills or whoever, like that was like a fuck up. That's somebody put the wrong chemical in the wrong shit and just made some puffy trash and fucking. Well, let me taste this shit. It's kind of sweet. You know what I'm saying? And then they oh, this might be a cereal, right? And then people like Broderick bought it. Honey Bunches of Oats, that's my shit. Let's see. Yes, thank you, Hyde, for putting in such a technical form. The waste byproduct of another cereal. It's a much better cereal. Whatever that other cereal was, they probably don't even sell it no more because niggas started eating Honey Smack. Niggas like Broderick started eating that shit. Peanut Butter Captain Crunch. I fuck with that. I mean, I'm a Reese's Puff person myself. Quaker Oats. You know what used to be, what was that shit? Crackling O's or some shit? Them hard ass fucking old cereal. This is some old 90s cereal. I don't even think they make that shit no more. Like, it was some shit. Crispix. It stays crunchy even in milk. Fucking all this stupid shit. I haven't thought of Crispix in forever. What's the other one? It was Crisp, but it was one. It was like some little. They were like little brand O's. They might have been called O brands or something. Who knows, man? But yeah, that's wild. Is it Is it a boy or a girl? I can't remember. You said. You're gonna have to be the uncle that they look up to. It was Crackling Oat Brand. That's what it was. Okay, Crackling Oat Brand. Like that shit, terrible stuff, right? But I used to eat that when I was young. I thought it was great. I'd fucking eat that shit when I was young. Give me some Crackling Oats, man. There were terrible cereals on the market that I'm pretty sure were nothing but chemical concoctions of trash. The frog is the Honey Smacks. Yeah, the Smacks with the frog. Like, that's what I was asking in the chat last night, and I still have not got the answer, right? And I haven't really looked for it, to be honest, but maybe you guys know. Why can't the rabbit have the cereal? Why can't the rabbit have the tricks? Like, he's on the fucking box. Why can't he eat the fucking cereal? Like, they just come they gentrifying the man's cereal, the rabbit, and he's a fellow white person. So why can't the fucking rabbit? Why can't the rabbit have the fucking tricks? Right? That's terrible. Really? I didn't know that. Shitty ass rabbit. That would make a lot of sense though. That would, that would definitely make a lot of sense. But the rabbit, the motherfucker get him a bowl, they just come repo, they just punked it with Debo that motherfucker. Give me this my bowl, bitch. Like, they chased the Lucky Charms. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Oh, I didn't see the Lucky Charms gag. I don't think I remember that one. I might have missed that one. Or I might have seen it and just forgot. But yeah, even Lucky Charms, he gets his fucking cereal. They gotta find him. He gotta run to the end of the rainbow. You know what I'm saying? So I don't understand the rabbit disrespect. He didn't do anything to anybody. He brought you delicious cereal and you took it from him. And now he can't even get his own fucking cereal. If that ain't fucked up, shit, I don't know what is, right? Like, what do you do? You can't have your own fucking cereal. That's a bad situation to be in. So tomorrow, tentative on the time. I don't know yet, right? So I'm not gonna lie to y'all. But we'll do something more positive. Friday, I don't want to go on a miserable Friday. We've been talking about a lot of different stuff. But tomorrow we will get into something a little bit more upbeat. We'll have some fun. We need the karaoke, right? But the karaoke needs to be. We got to karaoke the Discord. That way, you ain't got to do all nonsense a little bit. It'll be a little bit smoother. I think it'll be a little bit more fun. We definitely need to do some karaoke real soon. It's been a while since we've done that. That was always a fun deal. I listened to Broderick's his thing last time we did the little dead singing. Broderick stepped into the closet and sung with all his heart. I give it to him. There's been too much shit going on this deal, man. I thank y'all. I really do. I appreciate y'all, man. I do. So y'all know how it goes. 9 o'clock. I think the 9 o'clock thing is cool. I've just been tired today. It rained in Houston. It rained. I was at work. Work from home, and the fucking shit cut out. Right. And I don't have any more coworker stories to share. I'm waiting till I give a man up and we do a friends with your coworkers conversation, because I got stuff to talk about. Let me put that in there. Blicky. There you go. Tricks are for kids. Tricks have the kids. So, with that being said, I want to say thank you to each and every one of y'all. I appreciate y'all, man. I really, truly do. Y'all are wonderful, amazing people. I am blessed to have y'all a part of my life, and thank you for, the couple hours a day or the couple hours a week that I get to be a part of your life. I appreciate you allowing me in. As always, it is my honor, my privilege, but more than anything, it is my pleasure. Make sure you're following on all the proper social medias. That's terrible, Solis. Honcho HTX on TikTok. I'm gonna start TikToking. I gotta I got a scheme, right? I got a scheme to start promoting the den. I'll talk about it later. Honcho HTX on TikTok, Ed Honcho HTX on Instagram and Twitter. I try to post on there. If it doesn't come up on YouTube, I try to post on the YouTube community page. So if you don't see anything, make sure you check the community tab. I usually try to post, a notification or something on there if we're gonna have a den. Or even if we don't have a den, I try to post something on there. I'm trying to think. Twitter, I said that. Instagram said that. TikTok said that. Facebook page. Look, just read the description. Everything you need to know is in the damn description, like literally. And you don't even have, like, you can just click the link because apparently there's people who are just linkers. They don't like to type stuff in. So all the links are in the description. Everything you need to know. Shout out to Dan the man. Appreciate the love. And just everybody. I thank you all for being you. You know what I'm saying? You're good. So. Terrible. Terrible. I fucks with y'all. With that being said, meet me there. Or beat me there, don't meet me there. Any pizza places still open? I'm fucking hungry now. But yeah, anyway, meet me there. Beat me there. Beat me there, meet me there. I'm tired of talking nonsense. It's the lack of berry nourishment. Y'all know what part of the stream we're at right now, so you know what you're supposed to be doing right now, but y'all not gonna listen. I tell y'all every time, I warn y'all every time what's gonna happen around this point of the stream. And then y'all just be sitting here. I say, meet me in the Discord. If I'm already in the Discord, y'all just gonna sit in the stream and wait until I just start pushing buttons. And, then what? Then what? I'm already in that thing. I told y'all to beat me. Y'all didn't beat me. So, yeah. There's that. I'm warning